Nutrition and functional medicine principles are bridging the gap between healthcare and real life wellness. What do I even mean by this? Healthcare is short term. The medical system is there to make sure you survive. That is their main priority is helping you survive and to make it out of an acute situation that you may be experiencing. For example, if you are in a car accident, I am not going to tell you to go the holistic route. I'm going to tell you to go to the hospital, get the emergency care that you deserve, because that is where surgery and medications come in handy. That is the main goal of healthcare is to make sure you are surviving. And that is completely different from real life wellness. Real life wellness is long term, and the priority is focused on building sustainable lifestyle habits to help you achieve everlasting health and healing. We don't want you just to survive, but we actually want you to thrive. We want you to live the life that you have been dreaming of, free from symptoms, and you are full of energy. That is what it's all about to live in a very holistic lifestyle, and on top of that, to achieve that real life wellness. Nutrition and functional medicine principles are bridging the gap between healthcare and real life wellness. What do I even mean by this? Healthcare is short term. The medical system is really there for emergencies. They do great with acute care. So if you are in a car accident, you want to go to our medical system, whose main priority is to make sure you survive. And that is completely different from real life wellness. Real life wellness is long term, and the priority isn't just to help you survive, it is there to help you thrive by focusing on building sustainable lifestyle habits to help you achieve everlasting health and healing. So, there is a major difference between our healthcare system and real life wellness, and we're going to dive into the differences between functional medicine principles and our standard care that we have. If you have been following me for a while, you know I always talk about this root cause approach. So, this is a functional medicine principle, and this differs from conventional medicine from how they approach symptoms to lab testing to solutions. So, functional medicine focuses on a personalized and root cause approach, meaning they really want to understand the why behind a particular symptom or condition and use tailored natural solutions to address that why, or also known as the root cause. So, to describe this more, we are going to use an example of bloating. So, if you from a functional perspective, if we're looking at bloating, bloating is really at the top. We are looking at the top of an iceberg, let's say. We're looking at the top of the iceberg, and that is what we are presenting with is the bloating. However, we want to look underneath that iceberg and we want to understand what is actually driving that symptom. So that is when the root cause approach comes in, and we use functional labs in order to discover that root cause. And it's usually not just one root cause, it's multiple root causes. It can be nutritional deficiencies, it can be chronic stress, it can be environmental toxins, and it can also be a combination of all these different things together that are actually driving the bloating. So that is the number one fundamental principle of functional medicine is really understanding the why behind a particular symptom or a condition and using tailored natural solutions to really address that why or address that root cause. This is completely different from conventional medicine. Conventional medicine, their approach really just focuses on identifying a disease and treating that disease with a standard prescription or surgery. So when it comes to symptoms, so if you go to your doctor for bloating, and usually it takes you a lot, right? It takes you a lot to go to the doctors and to actually tell them about your symptoms. So maybe it's been a couple months that you have been dealing with the bloating and you finally realize like it's not getting better, there's something going on, and you listen to your body and you make an appointment with your doctors. You go to your doctors, you tell them about your bloating. Most of them are just going to dismiss you and say that symptom is normal. Some people, if you advocate for yourself, you can ask them to run labs. And majority of the time, those labs that they run will come back normal. So the problem with this is the conventional approach is specifically looking for a disease. If you are just presenting with one symptom or, a handful of symptoms, that's not enough to get a diagnosis or be treated for that diagnosis. So you were kind of left on your own to figure out what is going on with your body. You may start Googling symptoms. You may go down a rabbit hole on TikTok or wherever else you are searching for answers, right? And that is where functional medicine and this root cause approach bridges that gap, because not only are we digging for the root cause of that symptom, of that particular condition, we are actually trying to figure out why that symptom is happening. And we are using functional labs, and we're reading those functional labs from an optimal perspective. Okay, so we're not just looking for disease anymore. We're actually looking for optimal body function, because when you have optimal body function, you should not be presenting with any symptoms and you should be on the path to real life wellness. So there's a lot of similarities with how conventional medicine and functional medicine uses labs to identify specific issues going on in the body. However, like I said, the perspective of how they interpret those labs are completely different. So, conventional focuses on normal levels, and functional medicine focuses on optimal levels. So, let's dive deeper into what makes basic labs different from functional labs. What are basic labs? This is a very common question that I get. So, this is going to be more so towards the standard labs that you go into your doctor to get. So, this can be a blood drawn, this can be urine, this can be other bodily fluid or body tissue, and they use that to get information about your health. So, most of these lab tests, if you're going to your doctor, they're just specifically using them to help diagnose, screen, or monitor for a specific disease or condition. Other tests that they may run may just give general information about your organs and body systems. So, this can just be like your annual blood work. They usually run those, or they're supposed to run those every year to really see where your health is at. On the other hand, we have functional labs. So, functional medicine uses a variety of functional labs as tools to really dig deeper and uncover the root issues driving symptoms. So, these labs range from blood labs to hormone testing to stool testing, nutrient tests, and so many other amazing functional labs that can be used to really target what is going on in your body. So for this specific comparison, we're going to just focus on functional blood labs versus basic labs. When running these lab tests to really get information on what's going on in your body, to really understand why you have these symptoms or condition, we want to look at the reference ranges. So with basic labs, they have certain reference ranges that are created by the laboratory clinicians. So what they do when they're creating these reference ranges is they take a group of unhealthy individuals. So these are individuals who have a disease, have a condition, or a known diagnosis, and then they take another group of healthy individuals, and these are usually people considered without a disease, without a condition, or without a diagnosis. And they find the average between the two, and that is how they come up with these specific ranges to really identify if you are within the normal range or outside of the normal range. There's a few limitations when it comes to this. This first one is it's really hard to define a healthy population, because those individuals who are considered healthy, they could have a disease, but they probably aren't diagnosed yet. So we have to think about that. Most individuals who are going to get blood work done, there's something going on in their body that is allowing them to go get the blood work done. I don't know about you guys, but I don't remember talking to anyone who goes to the doctors just because they want to get a checkup, unless they have to get a checkup. So that is where it's very tricky with trying to define what a healthy population is. So when it comes to this, that means a large portion of this population that they have decided is healthy can have a can be undiagnosed but can have symptoms still. So that means it's very difficult to really understand where that reference range is actually coming from. So instead of focusing on measuring the physiological changes that can take place in the body, we are actually just focusing on making sure you fall within that reference range. So that is why it's so often you go to the doctors for symptoms and you feel awful. You may be having gut issues, brain fog, low energy. You get your blood work back and your doctors say everything's normal, you're within this normal range, you're good to go. Like everything must be fine. Instead of listening to you, listening to your symptoms, and really making a decision based off how you feel. So that is the physiological changes. So physiological changes are the symptoms, right? So when you do have those changes, it's going to present as symptoms. So instead of your doctors making a decision based on how you feel and based on what you're trying to tell them, they only focus on that reference range, which is based on a very sick population. So it's easy to fall within those normal ranges and still feel sick. So for example, this is from a article by the Laboratory Medicine, and they were looking at how they create these reference ranges. Okay, so for example, serum vitamin D insufficiency and deficiencies are common in our general population. So that population that they just created these reference ranges around, majority of those people are low in vitamin D. So that means if those general population that they are considered healthy, if they have low levels of vitamin D, you are going to fall within that normal range. So you can still have low vitamin D, but still be considered normal on blood work. So for example, in conventional medicine, vitamin D levels are considered normal at 30 milligrams deciliters. So 30 to 70 milligrams by deciliters, okay? 30, if you are 30, that is extremely low, meaning you can be super low in vitamin D, have all the symptoms of low vitamin D, the fatigue, the brain fog, the depression, but would still be considered normal because you fall within the 30 to 70 range. That's crazy, right? That's insane. Insane. So that is the problem with these basic labs. They are just looking for disease, and the ranges that they are focusing on identifying that disease are very large. So that is why you can be having all of these symptoms, this growing list of symptoms, and still be considered healthy. When it comes to functional labs, they base those reference ranges on optimal ranges. So that means that they just take the reference range and narrow them. And so those are considered optimal ranges. So these optimal ranges can pinpoint dysfunction in the body at the cellular level. And that makes it easier to catch certain markers early on, almost years before a diagnosis will take place. Let's bring this all together. When it comes to basic labs, we're only focused on identifying a disease and treating that disease with a standard protocol. This is usually prescription medications or it could be surgery, depending on the severity of whatever you're going in there for. On the other hand, we have functional labs, which really focuses on looking at optimal levels in the body. We're looking for dysfunction in the body, and we're using tailored natural solutions to address the root issue. So these are really just a tool, both labs, functional and basic labs, right? We are just looking for more information on why you're presenting with these symptoms, why you have the gut issues, why you have the bloating, the brain fog, the low energy, the depression, anxiety. We're trying to identify what is going on in your body and what's driving those symptoms. When it comes to the basic lab reference ranges, they are extremely large. So that is why you can go to your doctor for a long list of symptoms and be told that your labs are normal, because they are comparing your markers or your lab range to a population of very sick individuals. And that is where the difference is between functional and basic labs. Functional labs are going to provide more information on your unique body, your unique health concerns, and on top of that, you are getting a personalized protocol to target your unique health concerns. There's no standard treatment. And this is why when I was going through my own health journey, I would go to doctor appointment after doctor appointment with the same symptoms, more symptoms kept adding on over time, yet they would still tell me everything was fine, everything was normal because my labs looked good. My labs looked fine. Normal does not equal optimal. If I went straight to the functional medicine, holistic root cause approach way, I could have stopped my whole disease progression a long time before I was actually diagnosed with the disease. So it took me years to actually be diagnosed with multiple autoimmune conditions. And I went from doctor to doctor, specialist to specialist, trying to understand what was going on in my body. I had this long list of symptoms. I was doing all these fancy tests, the blood test, the urine test, MRIs, CAT scans, you name it, I've done it all, but everything always came back normal. And it didn't matter if I had this long list of symptoms, if I was sleeping 10 to 12 hours a day, I was struggling with my gut health, I had all the symptoms that you can think of. I was always just considered a healthy child. And that's just so crazy to me, because if I actually knew what I knew now, if I knew about the root cause approach, functional medicine principles, I could have caught that probably at my first appointment, that there was something going on in my body, that there was something really manifesting, and I could have took action right away instead of waiting for answers and doctors to finally give me a treatment plan. That could have never happened, right? So that diagnosis of different autoimmune conditions, being in the hospital multiple times, that probably would have never happened if I went the root cause approach way, the functional medicine principle way, right? And that's so crazy to me, because I know so many women are experiencing the same thing. And it's always with women. Women are always dismissed the most compared to men. And that's what is wrong with our medical system too, is we are not listened to. And they just don't have time either. So I'm not just blaming them. It's the whole system. It's not just the doctors, it's the whole system, how it's set up. Only 15 minutes to go into your appointment, tell them your problems, and them to do whatever they need to do is not enough time. Not enough time, and that is not what you deserve, especially if you're just going in there being very vulnerable, sharing all your symptoms, and they tell you, you look good, you're fine. That is not right, in my opinion, at all. So now that there is another way, now that you know there's the root cause approach, there's functional medicine principles, there's natural solutions to really give you the answers and the relief you are looking for, You have to make a decision if you want to stay the path you're on or if you want to get off that path and you want to break that cycle of disease in your family. So that is a decision that you have to make and that you have to come to terms with to really achieve that real life wellness instead of just relying on the healthcare system that is there to really help you survive, and that's it. They're not doing anything else for you except give you a prescription to make sure you are surviving. But you also want to thrive. You want to, be able to wake up with energy, have zero gut issues, eat without fear of the bloating and the burping. You want to wake up with zero pains in your joints. Whatever you may be experiencing, that is all possible. All possible. And that is what I'm really here to tell you guys and to show you that healing is possible, but you have to make that decision for yourself and you have to commit to building that real life wellness. It's always about making small changes, and over time, those changes compound. And next thing you know, you don't even recognize yourself anymore. That is what that's all about, real life wellness. So if you guys love this episode, if you guys want to hear more about functional medicine principles, basic labs, functional labs, and how to get relief from your symptoms and to understand that healing is possible, make sure you guys leave a review. I would love that. Or reach out to me on Instagram, send me a DM, let me know how you like this episode, and I would love to chat with you guys.